Hello and welcome to the Jim Kleiber Show. Today is Thursday, October 1st, 2020, as you can see in the little graphic right here. Oh, it's October. That means the sky is falling and the leaves are falling. Hopefully the sky stays in place because we have an election coming up and I don't want the sky to fall. Oh, goodness. The last couple of days I've been chatting a lot on Facebook like I hadn't for a while. I actually quit Facebook, I think in 2015 or 2016. Must have been, I don't know, I can't remember. But I quit it and I deleted it completely. So all the connections I had on there before, I downloaded, but I haven't necessarily restored all of it since then. And I've had this on and off again, love-hate relationship with Facebook, where I'll go through times where I use it a lot and other times where I really back off from it almost completely. And recently I started posting a lot more about politics, and it's been, I hate to use the word interesting. It has caused me a lot of emotions to see the full spectrum of people in my life commenting on it. From friends I met in California to friends I met in Europe to friends I met in Africa to friends I met when I was a kid to family members who are nearby to family members who are on the other side of the country to people who are on the left, people who are on the right, people who are rich, people who are poor, people who are formally educated, or at least not formally educated, people who are educated in the university system and people who are educated in the trades, people who are didn't go through a lot of education, people who work in the kind of an office job, people who work with their hands, people who work with their mouths, like communication more so, like all over the place. Like it's been really a bit frustrating for me, but also enlightening for me to see so many people interact in the same space. It also it can terrify me at times when I see, a notification from this person and this person. They're talking to each other. Oh no. Oh no, these are two people in my life who I never thought they would talk to each other. Oh goodness. Gosh, how many times has that happened on Facebook? Or I'm sure it's happened to you as well, where you post something and then you see people comment and you're like, no, why are these two people don't know? Oh no, they're coming from such different backgrounds. Oh, this could get bloody really fast. So at the same time, it's a huge opportunity to learn how to bring groups together and to facilitate not only connection between me and that person, but connection between the other two, and between those two people as well. And maybe that's one of the hardest parts about community building. For me, it's quite easy to connect one-on-one with someone. Yeah, I struggle a lot of times. I'm not perfect in this by any means, but I feel pretty confident in my ability to connect one-on-one with someone. But in a more public setting, in a group setting, there's a lot more dynamics. It challenges me a lot more. So in a way, I'm actually excited to dive into some of these conversations and see if I can try to stitch people together. Not in like the grandmaster puppeteer method, but more of if I can provide a perspective that can shine light on the humanity of both sides in a way that's not antagonizing or distancing and pushing people away, but in a way that may help people move a little closer to each other. So in light of that, I wanted to look at the debate that happened the other night and really dive into some of the emotions that different people may have been feeling when different things were said. I want to dive into the first one, which I think is receiving a lot of conversation right now, and even had one of the White House correspondent on Fox, this guy named John Roberts, today. He was talking with the anchor for the show on Fox News, and He said, stop deflecting, stop blaming the media. I'm tired of it. Like, Trump was asked a question about white supremacy. He said he didn't know, if he didn't know who the Proud Boys were, he could have said he didn't know who they were. And so I think there's a lot of emotion going around with like certain frustration in how the president responded for that. So I want to start off with that one. And so I believe it was a question from the moderator, Chris Wallace, and also Biden kind of chimed in, but asking Trump to condemn, I believe, the white supremacists. I think he said white supremacist as like a person, as an individual. And then they eventually said, like Biden said, Proud Boys, like this one group, Proud Boys. And Trump said, sure, I'll denounce. Who do you want me to condemn? Who do you want me to condemn? And then he said Proud Boys, and he says, okay, stand back and stand down, or stand back and stand by. Different than stand down. And so I think many people, I mean, if not millions of people in this country, when they heard that, they felt terror that the President of the United States is not denouncing, but almost like commanding a group of troops, stand back and stand by. Stand by is kind of like, okay, just wait, At least that's how I interpret it. I'm sure many other people interpret it that way. And just the terror that the President of the United States would be almost commanding a group of people who, and now I don't know too much about the group, but I imagine like have threatened violence, or who have threatened or have used a lot of hate speech towards minorities, especially people of color. And I can just imagine how much fear they have when the President of the United States just doesn't seem like he's on their team at all. He just doesn't seem to care that there's a group of people out there that are threatening the lives of people just because of their race, and he doesn't condemn the actions. Doesn't even seem like he's going to condemn the actions. Doesn't seem like he has any anger towards the violence towards these people. And after so many protests in the street with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Eric Garner and Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown, all of these protests over the last probably 6 years or more. And the president doesn't seem to care that people are threatening violence against this group. So I can imagine many, many people feeling really scared. Really scared. What does it mean to live in a society where you don't trust the cops, but you also don't trust the president of the United States, the top law enforcement official in the country? You don't think that person cares about your life. What a terrifying and lonely place to be in. Yeah. I mean, I can understand if he didn't want to condemn them as human beings, like that these are horrible, evil human beings that need to, be shunned completely from society. I don't think that strategy necessarily works, because it just passes pain to the other people. But to not even stand up and condemn the actions, to condemn violence from one group but not condemn violence from the others. I mean, Trump has been saying so much about, these protesters, these rioters, these looters, these thugs, these horrible people that are going to come in and destroy your neighborhoods, and they're overthrowing the government. But when people protest with tiki torches and run people over with cars, that's not violence. I mean, it's just, maybe this is, again, the problem with violence is that we see violence when it hits us. We don't see it when we do it to other people. We see it on the receiving end. We don't see it on the giving end. And yeah, so talking about the emotions of people, how there's probably sadness, anger, frustration, terror, fear, hopelessness when they hear the President of the United States not condemn the violence of these people. Oh, what else? Okay, I'll throw one to the other side. So Joe Biden at one point called Donald Trump a clown, and then he caught himself and he says, "Excuse me," he says, I think he said person. But that whole calling him a clown. So let me see, like, if I'm a person and I'm on a national stage and I get called a clown, I'd probably feel quite embarrassed. If I were Trump, I'd probably feel angry or embarrassed. But if I'm somebody who, I think the bigger issue is calling somebody a clown can really demean someone's intelligence. Oh, this guy's a joker. He's a clown. He has no intelligence. He's just and I think that's an attack that people on the left often do to people on the right. I hate these left-right categories. Some of us often do that to other people, where we attack them on their, we attack them on their intelligence. Oh, you're so stupid. You're a clown. You're an idiot. How could you believe this? What's wrong with you? Et cetera, et cetera. And I think for many people watching, it brings up a lot of pain of being the kid in school who didn't do well, who struggled to get good grades, who didn't get good grades, who struggled to pay attention in class, who maybe had dyslexia for many reasons, just didn't do well in school. Maybe school wasn't for them. Maybe they were good at fixing things with their hands or building things, whereas school is much more about language and memorizing things. So it doesn't necessarily help some people who are much more spatially oriented. And so maybe they didn't do well in school and they got bullied for it. The smart kids would make fun of them all the time. Be like, oh my God, how are you so dumb? Why can't you understand this? And so I can imagine when a presidential candidate talks about how the other one is so dumb and he's so, to be fair, Trump said the same stuff to Biden. But I think it can really bring up that pain of condescension. That just because someone didn't do well in school doesn't mean that they're not dumb. And just because someone learns things more slowly doesn't mean that they're a bad person. They may learn some things more slowly and other things more quickly than we do. They may know things that we don't, just as we know things that they don't. And I think it can bring up a lot of pain for that group to hear, oh, you're such a clown. You're so stupid. So what else? Let me try to imagine some of the emotions of the people on stage. Both people got pressured into trying to denounce and condemn a group. I believe it was it Antifa that Trump was trying to get Biden to denounce or condemn? And it reminded me of like back in the, I think it was 2016 debates or maybe even before, where they're trying to get the Democratic candidate to denounce radical Muslims. Is that what they wanted it to be called? There was some phrase where it was like, I want you to say the phrase. And if you don't say the phrase, that means you think they're good people. It's like, well, and then going towards Trump, it was similar, like, oh, you need to denounce this specific group and condemn them. It's like, I can't imagine what I can't imagine what it's like in a small group atmosphere. I can imagine this in small group atmosphere where somebody says, listen, your relative is a racist and I want you to condemn this person. It's my relative. What do you want me to condemn this person? I still love them. I don't believe what they believe and I don't like what they believe. But you want me to condemn this person? I'm not going to condemn my relative. And so that's in a small group situation. That's in like maybe a romantic situation where, like, oh, your second cousin is saying this and this, or your who knows, your aunt or your grandmother is saying something, and so you need to condemn and distance yourself from that person. I'm just like, this is my family. I'm not going to distance myself from them just because they have a belief that I don't like. If I did that, I would have no family around. Right? Like, if I just had to find one belief that my family member had that didn't align with mine, I would be a lonely person. I would have nobody around. So I can only imagine that on a national stage where either way, like if like, especially with the radical Muslim thing, it's like, you want me to I believe that Islam is a religion of peace. You want me to condemn Muslims? Why does it have anything to do with them being Muslim? Oh, because it's only the Muslims. You want me to condemn these people? I care about these people. I don't like what they're doing, but I care about the people. Oh, and it's the same thing on the other side. Well, I don't like what these people are doing, but maybe they're my friends or my family. Or maybe, they're people that I've met along the way that I care about. I don't like what they're doing. But I'm not going to condemn them. I'm not going to throw them under the bus on a national stage. And so it's being stuck in a really hard place. I can only imagine what it felt like to be Joe Biden and have Trump pester him. Many people have said that it seems like Trump was trying to get Biden to stutter. And to bring up all the memories of a kid who grew up stuttering, and I'm sure there were kids that tried to force him into the stutter, that tried to bully him as much as possible so that he would stutter, and then they would laugh at him. Can you imagine that when millions of people are watching on television? Can you imagine? At the same time, Trump dishes out a lot, but he receives a lot too. I think a lot of us only focus on what he dishes and not on what he receives. Like, people, poor man has been attacked on his intelligence, on his looks, on his relationship to his wife, on his kids, on blah, 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 blah. And then he attacked Biden on Biden's kid. It was just, okay, from a person who studies emotional attacks, they were they were rampant. They were rampant. They were slinging mud at each other. They were throwing knives. They were punching. They were hitting each other over the head with chairs. They were kicking below the belt. They were doing almost everything to attack each other. But again, I think the problem is we almost always only see the person attacking us and not see how we're attacking the other. Gosh, this happens so much in personal situations. This happens so much in personal situations. I think it's easy for us to blame politicians and be like, oh, these politicians are so crooked and corrupt and so violent and angry. And come on, how often does this happen in our lives where we get into a fight with our romantic partner and they and we think we've done nothing wrong, and we only see how much they've hurt us, and they think they've done nothing wrong and only see how much we've hurt them. And then we don't tell each other how we're hurting. And so we just think the other person's evil and trying to screw us over. It's the person who goes and cheats in a relationship and there's, oh, that person who cheated, they're such an evil person, this and that. It's like, well, do you know why they cheated? Do you know how much pain they were feeling and why they went off to cheat? Maybe they went off to cheat because they were feeling so much pain because you didn't trust them, because you would constantly say things like, oh gosh, you're probably going out with some other girl, or, oh man, you don't really care about me, do you? Oh gosh, wow, I wish I had someone that really cared about me. Or, do you even try? Like, things like that can dig deep, but we don't say it. We don't say how much it hurts us, and then we just kind of move on. Don't really move on. We just kind of continue and then punch back. I don't know. I think it's so easy for me in the work that I've done to try to focus on the attack, focus on the the language that someone used to hurt somebody else instead of focusing on the pain or the emotions of the person receiving it. And ironically, the work is about focusing on the emotions. It's trying to be open about how I'm feeling and how others might be feeling. And I want to focus on this more. You know, I think I wish Trump or Biden, I wish one of them, when they got punched, would have said something about how much it hurt. Like, for example, when Trump went after Biden's kid, Hunter, and saying, "Oh, he's so corrupt. He's this and that. He's taking all this money from China. He's doing this. He was cocaine addict and this and this and this." Biden kind of did it. I wish he would have went a little deeper and said, "You know how difficult of a time that was for us. You know how hard it is to watch your son go through a drug addiction after the loss of his other son." I don't know when the timing was, but I imagine it was probably after the loss of Bo. Do you know how hard it is to sit there and watch your son maybe throw his life away? I don't wish that upon any father or any parent. Could you imagine how differently it would have been if he said that? That would have captivated most of the audience, because there is real pain and struggle in that. And it's not punching back. It's not saying you're a clown. It's saying like, this is the struggle I'm experiencing. Can you imagine if Trump would say that? If someone calls him a clown or somebody attacks him, he says, "Listen, you know how hard it is to stand up and be the American president and have people sling mud at me every single day. You know how hard it is to be a father when the world is attacking the person that the kid is supposed to respect. How do I get respect as a father when everyone's out there making fun of me? Listen, I'm trying my best." Gosh. I don't know. It just seems like we don't talk about the emotional experience of people enough. When I say we, I include myself as well. I do this for a living, and I still overlook it many, many, many times. You know, what was it like to be Chris Wallace? What was it like how did Chris Wallace feel as the moderator? Here he is, trying to, I imagine, maintain this position of neutrality and position of being unbiased and trying to ask honest but tough questions. And then to have the President of the United States interrupt you, and then interrupt you, and then interrupt you. And how, you don't want to disrespect the president. I mean, we're supposed to, like, it's one of the strong norms in this country is to respect the office of the presidency. And so how do you raise your voice at the president? Poor guy. Like, I can't imagine if he was probably feeling super frustrated because he just wanted to have probably a calm and honest debate. Maybe frustrated with himself for raising his voice, maybe embarrassed that he couldn't control it more, maybe worried that it was going to get out of hand and he was going to get blamed for it, maybe all these different things. You know, just want to mention there's a couple comments here. It's not personal, it's business. That's the motto of capitalism. I mean, I think that's an absolute joke. It's not personal, it's business. Everything's personal. This whole idea that, don't think things personally. I try to tell people, first, take it personally. Second, depersonalize it. 3, get back on the same team. That's another way to reframe the 3 steps that I talk about. So instead of truth, fair play, love, step 1, take it personally, because we take it personally faster than we can even realize. 2, depersonalize it. Realize that it's not me I'm not causing 100% of what's going on. I may be causing 5%, maybe 10% of it, but the rest of it has to do with the other person and what's going on in their life. And then 3, get back on the same team. Realize that we're human beings and we're all going through the same crap together. Okay, what else we got? It's not emotional. It's me having more. Friend from Tanzania chiming in saying America has lost its big brother position in the global politics. Sorry, sad to say this, but it's true. I would say that America has currently lost or is losing its big brother position in global politics, but I don't think it's completely gone. I think we have an opportunity to get it back. I look at this election as kind of a referendum on, do we want to have a global leadership position? I believe many of us want to. Many of us want to have not only the leadership position in terms of the economy, but also in terms of kind of a moral leadership position. And I think what we'll see in the election will throw it, and we'll either reconfirm that or show the world that we don't care so much about it. At least that's my perspective. Somebody else says it's definitely scary. Can't believe this is really happening in the U.S. Yeah. I think we're experiencing a lot of pain and a lot of fear and a lot of anger and a lot of uncertainty and a lot of hopelessness and powerlessness and overall loneliness. And we've ignored it. And we think it has to do with the policies or it has to do with it. No, it has to do with the feelings, man. I was watching South Park last night, and South Park had a pandemic special on. It's an hour-long show. And it was the first South Park episode I can ever remember making me cry. It's heavy, man. It's heavy to think about people dying, and so many people dying across the planet right now, and so many people dying in the US, and not even having someone there to mourn them because they're afraid that they're going to get the virus and spread it. It's heavy. And I think we just overlook this. I mean, we have a lot of grief that we're carrying, that we're not processing. And it's not just from that. It's not just from dying from COVID-19. It's the people who die from suicide right now, or the people who are losing their jobs, and the people who are getting divorced, or the people who are being domestically abused, physically abused, or the people who lost their company, who they spent their whole lives building this company, and now the economy tanks and boom, they're done. They run a restaurant and they've put their whole life into this restaurant. Now the restaurant's gone. It's like a little part of them or a big part of them has died. And then you go back before that, and I mean, so you already you go to George Floyd and you look at what happened with George Floyd, and the terror and the fear and the anger and the deep, deep pain that some people feel when they think about something like that happening to them. And you can trace that back through all through a long time in history, going back to Emmett Till, going back to other lynchings, going back to slavery, going back to, a couple hundred years. Just the pain and helplessness that people carry through that and are still carrying. What about the opioid crisis and people seeing their friends and their family die from drug overdose? What about seeing their friends and family become alcoholics or addicts in another way and see how that causes so much pain to some people in their family? What about the ones who go off to war and never come back? What about the ones who go off to war and come back and they're never the same? I wish we would talk about this stuff more. I wish our political discussions would be much more about how people are suffering, going into the details to show that we're all suffering. Poor people and rich people suffer. They suffer from different things, but they still suffer. The distrust of others, the fear, the pain, the loss, it's fear, pain, and loss. It's easy to think that that other people are swimming through life with no problems. How many of us have underlying conditions that, if we were to get a disease like COVID-19, could wipe us out? Autoimmune diseases, hypertension, or some kind of like heart diseases, lung diseases, all these different things, stress. I would absolutely love for there to be one debate where the candidates talk about the emotional struggles of American citizens across the board. We can talk category by category. We can talk about the pain and the struggle of what it's like to be poor. We can talk about the pain and struggle of what it's like to be rich. We can talk about the pain and struggle of what it's like to be black or white or Hispanic or Asian, or any category of race you want to come up with. We can talk about the pain and struggle of what it's like to live on a farm or to live in a city. Or we can talk about the pain and struggle of what it's like to be undocumented or to be a natural born citizen. We can talk about the pain of what it's like to be an immigrant of all flavors, of all backgrounds. We can talk about the pain and struggle of what it's like to be a politician. Because you know who we often forget struggles? Politicians. You know how hard it could be to be a politician, a publicly elected figure? How? I think American culture often tells us to smile and not talk about the pain. And many cultures around the world say this. Not the smile part, but the don't cry part. But I think if we want to bring this country together, we got to start crying more. We got to start showing our tears, showing our fears, and letting people see that we're just as human as they are. And if they show us, then we can see how human they are too. It's there's so many tears hiding inside of us right now. I'm sure. For me, there definitely are. I can feel it right now. But I know there are other people right now that are just looking for the outlet. You know, I don't know about Biden's policies. I don't know about Biden's plans. I don't know about Biden's strategy. I don't know about stuff like this. But right now, I think the big thing that this country needs is to grieve. And I want him to lead us through that process of grieving all the things that we've lost. Because in grief, we can come together. So hopefully we'll focus a little more on this, and I appreciate all you who've watched and chimed in. I apologize I didn't get to all the comments, but I'm grateful that you've been there live and those who are listening later, because we're stumbling through this world together. We don't know what we're doing. At times I just want to cry, and I'm sure you do too. And it's okay. It's okay to cry. It says you really cared about the thing that you lost. So maybe not the emotional note you thought this would end on, but so is life. Glad to have you on board this crazy journey with me. Talk to you soon.